Do you empathise when someone tells you a sad story? Do you feel their pain and emotion? Do you understand and see from their perspective? If not, you might be less self-aware than what you actually think you are. When you are more self-aware, you can relate and feel pain and emotion, even to the point you could cry through feeling someone else's pain and emotion. You know when you get that feeling in your throat when you're watching a sad film, and I'm going to use Marley and Me for example, but try and think of it as someone's telling me a sad story. And at the end of this film, the dog dies, and to empathise and see it from their perspective, you think back to your own dog, your own cat, even a family member sometimes, just so you can understand from their point of view, just so you can feel their pain, and that you can cry to someone else's pain because you've been through that as well, and you can sort of feel it. It lets you understand other people and their situation, see it from their perspective, or it can just be to comfort them because you want to be able to understand the situation better. You choose what to say wisely when you're around other people because you know how things you say and do affect others. People who are self-aware are more fulfilled, they have stronger relationships, more creative, more confident, better communicators, and more effective leaders. They understand themselves so much, they use their self-awareness to understand others, to be able to relate to others. By understanding themselves, they understand others alike. Just like what I'm doing with these videos, I've made a note and I'll put it up on the screen right now. And this note is to do with my dream customer or dream viewer, And in this note you'll see where it describes this dream customer as sad, overweight, not confident, and then I'll add the second picture where it says what he wants to be like. This customer, I'm just describing myself. I want customers, I want people, I want viewers just like you, just like me, to watch this video, because I know exactly how you feel through my self-awareness. I know what you want. These are things that I used to be like compared to what I am now, or I am trying to be. I tell you deep personal stories, and in some way you relate. You understand the pain and emotion through your own experiences. You like how open I am and honest, and it gives you a sense of connection, and we relate on a different level. When I open my videos on more of an attack, I'm not attacking you. It's just the way I've felt. And if that offends you, or you see some truth in what I'm saying, then it's because you're self-aware and that what I've said has affected you deeply because you relate in some sort of way. What I'm saying is relatable in some way. When I talk about being fat and I couldn't see my own dick, you might relate. When I talk about gaming endlessly and leveling up my character in-game rather than leveling up in real life, it was because I was lost. You might relate in some sort of way, and you're nodding your head just like you are right now. If you want to grow more and be successful on your self-improvement journey, you need to be more self-aware. Self-awareness will be needed. I don't want to teach you how to be self-aware and get caught up in the thoughts, because as you could imagine, thinking about things you're doing wrong, thinking about emotions, you can get caught up in a spiral, and this can lead you into a further darkness of depression and anxiety, etc. I'm going to teach you good ways to not attach yourself to them thoughts and be able to look at them from a different perspective, so you can think about it more logically, be able to move past them problems and feelings you are having, and how to get started on the work that needs to be done. Journaling is one of the ways you can become self-aware, or more self-aware than what you actually already are. Journaling, writing down what you want in a partner, what you want in life, what triggers you, what makes you happy, how you are feeling. It allows you to put them thoughts on a piece of paper, and once it's written down, I found that I can then look past that thought, less emotionally and more in depth. Before it, I just thought about the thought and I couldn't really come up with ways to solve it. It put me into an outsider view, like you are speaking to someone else but you're not actually speaking to someone else. I find that writing it down allows me to clear my mind, and I don't have to think about that thought, and as the day goes on or the week goes on, I can come up with solutions, and they just come to me naturally. It allows me to not get so emotionally attached to them thoughts. Saying things like, why am I thinking like this? Why am I like this? Instead, it helped me realise thoughts will come and go. Writing them down, and then you can pick out what actually needs to be sorted and what's a load of bollocks, and you can just scribble that out. This has been the best thing for me to develop my mental health. It allowed me to think clearly, sort out my traumas, heal my inner child, feel more confident, think more positively about pain and suffering, and most of all, secure in myself. Self-awareness is the ability to see ourselves clearly, understand who we are and how others see us. Self-awareness lets us take a step back and look at ourselves from a third-person view, and elevates the things we can do to correct the actions and things we say unconsciously in different situations. For example, you can learn to respond rather than reacting in tense situations. Say you're in a heated argument with your girlfriend, and you can either choose to say what's on your mind in that split second moment where you're emotional, or you can take a minute, breathe, and act accordingly because you don't want to upset your girlfriend. Another situation is you don't feel confident when you speak to strangers, and when you found that when you speak to strangers, you tend to shut down, your mind goes blank, you get loads of anxiety coming up, and being able to, when you're self-aware, you can think about these problems, but next time that situation comes about, you need to do something about it, and that's, you need to ask yourself the right question on how am I going to change how I act unconsciously in them situations. Say that situation comes up tomorrow, and you go into it and you see the first stranger you see, you go up to speak to him and you catch yourself, you think, yeah, okay, this is happening right now, I need to do something about it. And you think you've already thought about what you're going to do, and what you say, you literally say the first thing that comes in your mind, no matter what it is, no matter the judgment you're going to receive. It could be, you could be talking about, I don't know, your dog. Like, just start a conversation about anything. I was too scared to even say hello to people at a certain point in my life because I was scared I wasn't going to get an answer. But how did I tackle that? I thought logically about the situation. They're not going to ignore me. People aren't as rude as what you think they actually are. I thought of it in a more positive light. I said hello, and pretty much every time I said hello, I got a hello back. These are the steps you can take to build yourself up on self-improvement. First, you need to be aware of the situations through self-awareness, recognizing how you unconsciously act in different situations, and then if you can think you can do better in them situations, and you can ask yourself questions like, what can I do next time? What could I say? This brings me to the next part of the video, asking better questions. What do I mean by this? I mean asking what and how questions rather than why questions. When we ask why questions, we get caught up in emotions. What questions help us decide what actions we can take to do next to tackle the problems and emotions we're having? It also changes the perspective we look at the situations we're in or we are struggling with. When we ask why questions like, why me? Why do I do this? Why don't I look like him? It puts you into a negative state of mind, making you think too much, leading to overthinking, depression, anxiety. Let me ask you 2 questions right now, and ask yourself, do you feel more negative or positive when I ask these questions? And for context, you've got into an argument with your girlfriend. Question 1, why did the argument start? And you go on to say she's on her period, she started the argument. You're putting the blame onto her, and you're not looking at it from her perspective. This is blaming, and this is not, you're not going to solve anything. Let me ask you the second question. How could you respond better if that situation comes up again? See, now you can say things like, oh, maybe I could take a minute to think about what I'm going to say. Maybe I can just take a minute to realise she's on her period, she's overreacting, she needs someone to be there for her. This is, you're looking at it from a different perspective, a more positive perspective, leading you into actions you can take next time the situation arises. And it's just all about catching yourself in that moment. When that situation comes up again, you can act just as you just thought about it. And when that situation comes up again, you can act just as you thought about that better way of you thinking about la, 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 la. That's a good one. Yes, I like you. Ah! What I'm trying to say is, when that situation comes up again, you can look at it differently and you can take better steps to improving the situations that are coming up. When you act unconsciously and you're not aware of the way you act, and you might say something in a certain way and someone might take it offensively, right? It's because of the way you've said it unconsciously without even thinking, because you haven't got that self-awareness. But then if you look at it and you write it down, or someone acted harshly to me today by saying something I said and they've took it the wrong way, don't think of it they've took it the wrong way. You need to think about how you said it, what you could have said differently, and they might have acted differently. This is developing your self-awareness by looking at it from a different light, a more positive light. I'm going to use the situation with my body, for example. Before I learned how to cut and bulk properly, I was fat and then I went to skinny fat because I was on a constant cut. Why do I look like this? Why can't I lose this belly fat? Why don't I look like him? As you can hear from the things I'm saying, it's putting myself in a victimized position, judging myself. When I ask what I can do next to look like this person I want to look like, I become less emotional. It puts me in a logical thinking state of mind. This leads to steps that you can take to get to that point, rather than being fixated on why you don't look like him. As soon as you take them steps, you'll feel a flame inside of you ignite, and you will go in the direction you've always wanted to go in this whole time. You will move mountains with ease with this new way of thinking. When you focus on problems, you will only have problems. When you focus on possibilities, you will only have opportunities. I'm not saying don't ask why questions, because these can lead us in the right direction if asked correctly, but it can also get us stuck on that thought, not giving us helpful answers, leading us to overthinking and victimization. The cycle will continue until you think differently. You might be self-aware, but you are asking the wrong questions. That reason is why you are stuck where you're at and finding yourself in the same situations, like dating the same people, for example. Before I was aware of the people I dated, I didn't really think too much about it, but once I learned through therapy, journaling and reading that I was dating the same women that had the same qualities as my mother, I had to change that about myself. This goes for men and women, and you can research this for yourself. And from the ages of 3 to 6, we develop a feeling of desire towards the opposite sex parent. Basically, you fancy your mum. So, yeah, I fancied my mum. I go for women that are like my mum. And this is for the reason because it feels safe and it's like home for you. It's comfortable, it's recognisable, that's how you've been loved, and that's all you know. It makes perfect sense, especially for people who like their comfort zone. My self-awareness brought me to this realisation. If I wasn't aware of this because I had no self-awareness, I would be dating people who had similar traits to my mum. And now I'm not saying my mum has bad qualities. I am who I am today because of her. But she has qualities like shyness and she's scared of the world that I wouldn't like to have in a woman. I feel like these qualities would hold me back in my journey rather than pushing me in the right directions I need to go in. I could imagine if you're watching this video and you might relate in some things I have said, or you're watching this for the reason you are self-aware but you would like to know how to move forward and rather than being stagnated, remember to start journaling. Become an outsider view of your thoughts and emotions. It clears your mind, makes you think more logically. Change the way you look at situations that arise by asking what and how questions, better questions. This allows you to stop being the victim of your own reality. Start having more direction in your life. If you want to have a better understanding of other people, start by understanding yourself. Do what needs to be done, not what you feel like doing. Love you, boys.